So are you ready for the final question and answer session now?
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur. The first questioner is Mr. Hassan from Damascus, Syria.
السلام عليكم حضرة أمير المؤمنين. If you don't mind, please, would you please tell me what we have to call المسيح موعود عليه السلام? Is he messenger or is he Nabi or Rasul? Thank you very much.
Primarily, he is what he is predicted to be, Al-Masih al-Ma'ud and Al-Imam al-Mahdi. Now the question as to what the status of Al-Imam al-Mahdi would be in Ummah, and the question of what the status of Al-Masih al-Ma'ud would be in Ummah is the one which we must answer. Is the question which we must answer.
Yes.
So he is Al-Masih al-Ma'ud and Al-Imam al-Mahdi as far as we believe. And this is exactly what he claimed. So the question is open to the whole Ummah to decide. It is not an Ahmadi question alone. The entire Ummah Muslimah is answerable as to what they would believe the Imam Mahdi to be and Al-Masih al-Ma'ud to be. There is no difference of opinion on that. So it is an artificially created rift by the ulama between the Ahmadiyya belief and the non-Ahmadiyya beliefs. That is why I am answering your question in this particular way. The important question to be decided is not regarding Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. The important question which is to be decided is about the status of Imam al-Mahdi and the status of Al-Masih al-Ma'ud as predicted in the ahadith of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You follow this correctly now? Now this question can be also addressed to the non-Ahmadi ulama. If you inquire for them, forget about Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad for a while and tell me the status of Al-Masih al-Ma'ud when he comes. The answer invariably would be that he would be a Nabiullah. Invariably. And they can't give another answer anyway, because Al-Hadith al-Muslim, which speaks of the advent of the promised Messiah, or Isa ibn Maryam, that hadith clearly speaks of him in relation to the future, in relation to his future advent, that he would be Nabiullah, 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 Nabiullah. 4 times in one hadith he has been mentioned as Nabiullah. So the ulama have no choice but to accept it. So they all agree that he would be Nabiullah. Now the next question which should be addressed to them is, if he would be a Nabiullah, then what about Ayat al-Khatam al-Nabiyyin? How would Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will be Khatamun Nabiyyin? The answer they would give you would be that because he would become a Muslim, because he would accept his subordination in totality to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so his coming would not be a violation of the Ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin. You understand so far? This is exactly what we believe. Exactly. That Masih Maud, because he would be born in Ummah, subordinate to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he will be a muti prophet who will not change Islam even a dot, nor is he appointed for that purpose. He will come to perform the role of what role is assigned by Hazrat Rasulullah to Masih Maud. And that does not violate the meaning, the sense of Khatam al-Nabiyyin in any way. So in this issue, both are fully agreed. The difference is only whether the old prophet would come again or a new Messiah will be born in the Ummah. As far as the status goes, there is not an iota of difference. I hope you understand this message. Now turning to Al-Imam al-Mahdi. What is Al-Imam al-Mahdi? Is he like any other mujaddid? If he is like any other mujaddid, why did not Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam refer to mujaddidin as Al-Imam al-Mahdiyin, Aymatul Mahdiyin? He never did. Not even remotely so. Mujaddidin are separate and Al-Imam al-Mahdi is different. They are not even addressed as Aimma by Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The difference is that Mujaddidin never claimed to be such imams as were directly appointed by God, and as such to believe in them became essential. But this is not the case of Al-Imam al-Mahdi. Al-Imam al-Mahdi, as predicted by Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is a leader of the whole of Islam under Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No mujaddid ever addressed himself or addressed the whole Muslim world on behalf of God. He addressed his community, his country, his people, and he always remained original. There was not one mujaddid who appeared in the entire history of Islam who addressed the entire world on behalf of Islam. So he is different in his role, in his style, in the message he delivers, in the claims he makes. He becomes the representative of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Otherwise, his message could not be universal. Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the only prophet who was universal. So anyone who could be entitled subordinate prophet to him had to be universal. Otherwise, he would be like Anbiya Bani Israel, not like a prophet as should appear in the Ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If his message is original, he can't be a prophet of Ummah. If his message is global like that of Islam, if he is the one who is mentioned in the Holy Quran to fulfill the purpose of لَيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ, only then such an imam can be entitled Al-Imam al-Mahdi. So first of all, remember that this title Imam is only granted to one person and not to all the Mujaddideen. Number two, what is the meaning of Al-Imam al-Mahdi? Is it a new term coined by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or is it somehow mentioned in the Holy Quran, which Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam discovered, but the ordinary readers failed to do so? Now, when I studied the Quran from this point of view, I found 3 verses speaking of Imam al-Mahdi in a style. When I quote the verses, then you'll understand what I mean. This term is used by the Quran only for the prophets. Nowhere the term Al-Imam al-Mahdi is employed by the Holy Quran to indicate ordinary reformers. I quote a verse from Surah Al-Anbiya, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. Who are these? Whom? Read the list of the prophets which are mentioned before this verse. None but the prophets are mentioned there. Many prophets are mentioned. And in the end, both law-bearing and non-law-bearing, But in the end, the conclusion drawn is, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ وَفِي الزَّكَاةِ. خیرات و زکات آیت نکالیں. I'll quote from, I may by mistake quote something which is not exactly the words of the Quran, so I'll wait for that. But the meaning is very clear. The Holy Quran says, we made them Aimma. And the singular of Aimma is what? Al-Imam. And one who receives guidance from Allah, then passes on to others. What is he? The guided one. Al-Mahdi. Yahduna bi amrina is the pivotal point to be understood. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَإِقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ وَكَانُوا لَنَا عَابِدِينَ. Now, فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَإِقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ are the common features of all religions, as mentioned in Surah Al-Bayyinah. So this does not mean that new wahi of a new religion or new law was revealed to them. They answered to the very basic, fundamental definition of prophets. They were appointed by God. They did not say anything from themselves. Whatever God directed, they passed it on to the people. And they were not necessarily law-bearing, but they performed all the functions which all the prophets perform. So this verse has other similar verses, but invariably all apply to the prophets and none to the non-prophets. So because I have a perfect faith in Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's special quality which has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, that وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. It was this unshakable belief in him that initiated this research by me. And I wanted to find out where in the Holy Quran the term Imam al-Mahdi is mentioned. And this is what I discovered. So according to the definition of the Quran, anyone who is appointed by God as leader, religious leader, and he does not convey anything of guidance from himself, but under the order and command of God, Yahduna bi amrina. That is Al-Imam al-Mahdi. And he is also recipient of wahi. Now, these three conditions are met in Al-Imam al-Mahdi. That is why all the Aimma, without fail, believe that if the Imam Mahdi appears, no Muslim will be permitted to reject him. If you reject him, you will be out of the pale of Islam. So where is the difference? This is exactly what our belief is. But when it turns to a person, identification of the person who is mentioned under these two titles, then the tempers flare up of the mullahs, and they want to excite the unknowing, unsuspecting, innocent public of what they mean to do. What they mean to do is to create hatred against a claimant from Allah who has claimed nothing but what was predicted. This is our position vis-a-vis Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's predicted Imam. Right? Thank you. Jazakumullah.
Hazur, next question is from Mr. Nasir from New Malden. He is here. He's sitting there, and he wants me to ask the question.
Please do.
What is the historical proof and background regarding Jesus Christ traveling to Kashmir and his burial in Srinagar, Kashmir? Thank you.
Could I inquire from the questioner, please, what is the alternative suggestion? None? He might have gone to the heavens bodily. Now, where is the historical proof of that? Equate the two beliefs. Which is more logical, which is less logical? It is not upon anyone to prove where any prophet of God went and was buried. There is no need for such a proof. But if you say someone ascended to heavens bodily, then the onus of proving it is on his shoulders, because he is making a very unusual claim. For usual claims, you don't have to prove anything. If I say somebody had two eyes, how can anyone demand from me, prove it? I don't have to prove it. Everybody has, exceptionally in some cases. But if I say somebody has, instead of eyes, has two large lamps brightly lit in the place of the eyes, then naturally you have a right to ask the proof. Where is the proof? It's a strange claim you are making. It doesn't happen in humans. So maybe he is a person of a fairy tale, then I would agree, but not otherwise. This is exactly the case of those who claim that Jesus Christ did not die like all other human prophets, but he ascended to heavens. Now this claim is definitely proved to be wrong by the Holy Quran. I will not enter into the detail of what happened to him, whether he died upon cross or did not. This is a different question. I'm going to answer you in relation to this particular question with reference to a verse of the Holy Quran which tells us of the demand of the people of the time of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to ascend to heaven bodily and descend from there bringing a book. They said, only then shall we believe in you. The answer taught by the Holy Quran was, قُلْ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّي هَلْ كُنْتُ إِلَّا بَشَرًا رَسُولًا. What are you demanding from me? First prove that any Bashar or any Rasul had ever done this. I'm a Bashar Rasul, so you can claim from me the proof of my truth only within the confines of my claims. You can't attribute something to me which I never claimed. So he said, I am a Bashar. According to Allah's instruction, this is the answer he gave. I am a Bashar and I am a Rasul. None who belong to Bashar, Bashariyat, ever ascended to heaven. None who belong to the category of prophets, Rasul, ever ascended to heaven bodily. If this is not implied, then what is the validity of this answer? None. Because the enemy could say, what do you mean, Bashar Rasulah? Is not Jesus Christ a Bashar? Is he not a Rasul? Why did he ascend? And why did you prophesy that he will also descend? So your argument is baseless. But of course it was not. Of course, it proves that according to Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to the way sent to him, bestowed upon him, he knew that Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam had neither ascended nor would he descend bodily. So the ascent to the heaven is ruled out anyway. Now we attempt to trace his journey. That is all we do when we say that perhaps he is buried in Kashmir. But if we fail to prove it, it does not make any difference. One thing is certain, wherever he went, he did not go bodily to the heavens. So it is a genuine search for him in line with certain indications of the Holy Quran and the Bible. So this is what I tell the Ahmadis. It is not something on which the truth of Ahmadiyyat is hinged. It does not hang upon the proof that Jesus is buried in Srinagar. Wherever he is buried, it doesn't make any difference to the belief, because our belief is based on the Quran and the New Testament. In those areas where both join hands. So let me develop this a little further. If Jesus did not ascend to heaven, as I have proved, he did not, according to the Quran. If he is not found anywhere after crucifixion, if the New Testament informs us that when he was seen after the crucifixion, he was still alive. If the New Testament further elaborates the point by telling us that when some of his disciples thought that he was a ghost, he rejected this idea and said he is not a ghost, and said that he was not a ghost, and invited them to come and touch his wounds and see for themselves that he is the same person who was attemptedly crucified. And with the same wounds he was walking around. And then, according to the testimony of the New Testament, he was moving away quietly from Palestine to somewhere else. He made it certain that he is not seen by the enemy. He always appeared at night to his own people. And when suggested that he should enter the cities, perhaps the purpose was the whole world should know that he was right and they were wrong, he refused. Why does he do that? If you understand the phenomenon of migration of prophets, then it becomes crystal clear why he did it. The Holy Prophet never hid himself from any danger during the Meccan life or in the Medinite life, except during the Hijrah. So the prophets of God are told, like in other cases, when Lot was instructed to leave, said, do it slyly and quietly before the break of dawn. So Allah knows best why it is done, but the prophets in migration always have the same style, are migrating in hiding. The rest of their life is open and fearless. So Jesus Christ was so bold as to repeatedly make claims which were offensive to the society of being that Christ who they were awaiting. Did not fear what may have happened to him. But at the time of his migration from after crucifixion to somewhere else, he displayed the behavior of a prophet in migration. The question is, it's a big event. Is it anywhere mentioned or hinted at in the Old Testament or the New Testament and also in the Quran? Now, coming to that, you must have read, if you read Bible, that Jesus Christ promised them that he would leave them and go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This was a clear promise given by Jesus Christ to his people, that he would leave them and go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Did they really lose a herd of sheep, a flock of sheep anywhere? No. It was the children of Israel who were mentioned. So this indicator leads us to the history of Israelites when we read that in the age of Nebuchadnezzar, 10 tribes out of 12 were driven out of the mainland of the Israelites, and only 2 were left behind. So they were the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the 10 tribes. So Jesus delivered his ministry while he was in Palestine only to 2 tribes. And the ministry was not complete. That is why he claimed that he would leave them and go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And this is exactly what the Holy Quran means when it informs us about Jesus Christ that he was Rasulan ila Bani Israel, not Rasulan ila 2 of the tribes. Rasulan ila Bani Israel, the totality of Israelites. And he could not have performed his mission unless he had gone in search of the lost tribes and delivered his message, of course, partially to people, because it does never happen that the prophet can deliver direct message to all the people to whom he addresses. But category-wise, he must deliver the message to the category to which he is raised. So it was the category of Israelites, not just 2 tribes of Israel. Hence he must have gone in that direction. Now this is one finger which is raised in the direction of somewhere where Israelites must have gone before. When we pursue this course, with the help of the Christian historians and scholars who have worked on these things, it is on their authority that I assure you that both the people of Afghanistan and the people of Kashmir have been proved to be of the stock of Israelites by the Christian scholars themselves. It's not an Ahmadi scholar who has presented this new view. With the passage of time, they are more and more convinced that the stock of the Pathans, Afghans, and the stock of the Kashmiris is not a local Indian stock. They were the people who migrated throughout history after what happened, as I told you, in the age of Nebuchadnezzar, driven off further east, and they got settled down in Afghanistan, and on way to Kashmir, they made many tribal areas of commands. So the Afghan tribes were settled in Afghanistan not as one single entity. They had their tribal chiefs like the Israelites had. And each tribal chief carved out a territory for himself. So the tribes got settled down in different places. That is why when you inquire about the Pathans, those who belong to Isakhel, Musakhel, all the names are biblical names, and their territories are also specifically defined. These are Isakhelis, they are Musakhelis, they are that Khelis and that Khelis. So this indication of the Bible is proved to be very seriously right. The scholars prove it, and the present nature of the tribal nomenclature and other things, the style of life also further support this claim. So when we go to Kashmir, the same is the story there repeated exactly like it. I have read a Christian scholar on the issue of the origin of the Kashmiris, and he says that if anyone goes to the Lake Dal and sees Kashmiri women, the way they are attired, bringing their pitchers, etc., to fill them with water of the lake, if he has read his history of the Israelites, and if he knows how they used to be attired, he cannot find out one difference between their style of life and dresses and the style of life and dresses of the Jewish women of the olden days. And this is still true. Anyone can go and find out for himself. And why all the names in Kashmir and Afghanistan are derived from the Old Testament. Why does not it happen anywhere else in India or Iran for that matter? These are the two specific areas where the Israelites went and settled. So according to Jesus Christ, as I have quoted, it is to this area that he promised them that he would go. What about the Holy Quran? Does it also leave an indicator? The Holy Quran informs us both about Jesus and his mother, that when in danger, God saved them, God carried them to safety and protected them from their danger. The verse I have in mind is وَآوَيْنَاهُمَا إِلَىٰ رَبْوَةٍ ذَاتِ قَرَارٍ وَمَعِينٍ. We took both Jesus and his mother to a place of safety, which was plateau-like. It was not plain land, which was full of natural fountains and full of an atmosphere of peace. Now, anyone who knows anything about Kashmir knows that it's the land of natural fountains, and until the recent changes, political changes, of course it was considered to be a heaven on earth, a country of peace. So this is the picture created by the Holy Quran, that there you should meet, if at all anywhere, Jesus Christ and his mother. Now, another interesting point to further support this view is that when Jesus disappeared after crucifixion, his mother also disappeared and is not reported to be left anywhere. You find reference to her in the Christian literature only for a while. She is told to be moving away under the protection of some disciples of Jesus Christ, to whose protection he himself had entrusted his mother. Then she disappears. And Avana Huma means both of them together. So if he had gone to heavens, why did he forget his mother? She was not lifted. So it had to be a place on earth, not in the heaven that God referred to. So both must go together, and both did. Although there are so many tombs claimed to be those of Mary, but there is no place where you can either prove or at least make a viable claim that both Jesus and Mary are found in the general area. So if the graves of Jesus and Mary are found to be in a certain area, then of course we could have a genuine interest in finding out further about them. Because according to the Quran, it was not possible that Mary should go and get married in Japan, and Jesus Christ should go and get buried in Kashmir. So that is why we investigate only on certain graves of so-called graves of Mary, which are en route to Kashmir and not elsewhere. And there we find a grave in Murray, and the name Murray also is indicative of Mary, reminiscent of Mary. There is a grave called to be that of Holy Mary, and nobody knows why she is called holy, why this grave is given such a grave importance, and why the whole area is called after her name. So because it is in the direct route to Kashmir, so it is possible that Jesus Christ might have taken this route and entered Kashmir through the mountain ranges of Murray. And his mother may have died on the way, and he reached Kashmir alone by himself. So there are so many possibilities which are still called possibilities and not proofs, because for proof you require some more evidence, which indicate that the claim that Jesus Christ might have been buried in Srinagar is not a bizarre claim. There are many indications which must be taken seriously. And further research is being carried out by the Jamaat Ahmadiyya to find archaeological evidence. So far, the argument produced by Jamaat Ahmadiyya is not archaeological, but it is based on history, reports, traditions, and other things. But now I have appointed a team of scholars led by a particular person from America who is gifted in these things to discover archaeological evidence. From Afghanistan, he has been able to discover some definite archaeological evidence of the tribes of Israel having settled there, and there also is other evidence indicating that the Messiah had gone through that area. But in Kashmir, because the conditions are not very favorable at present, unfortunately, we have started the investigation, and I hope, inshallah, in due course, we'll bring out that evidence. So this is the reason why we are doing it. It's not just a fairy tale we are weaving. All that we claim is based on certain pliable facts, and the possibilities are turning into probabilities rather than the other way around. Thank you.
Hazur, next questioner is Mr. Ishtiyaq from Burton. I'll request Mr. Ishtiyaq please to come and put his question.
From Burton, right. Burton, right. Next, huh?
Burton,
this is what I said, Burton, and you corrected me, so I turned to Merton, and then you corrected me, and that's okay.
Assalamu alaikum, Professor.
Wa alaikum.
In the world today, there's 52 Muslim countries, but none of them are ruling by Islam fully. Do you believe it's fard to establish an Islamic state in the sense of Khilafah to implement Islamic rule properly?
Please sit down. I'm not interested in Islamic rule. I'm interested in the rule of the Quran and the will of God. The stately power is not a prerequisite to the rule of God and the rule of the Quran. Had it been, then Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam should have been granted the state authority before he was commissioned to be a prophet. 13 years of his life was spent in total helplessness, and not a glimpse of sword is seen during the lifetime of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Mecca or in the hands of his followers, but swords are being seen in the hands of his enemies. So why was he made a prophet with so much of do's, so much injunctions regarding do's and do nots, while he had no authority to implement that teaching? But that teaching did not need any authority, because the Sahaba who followed him during the period of Mecca were the symbols of Islamic teaching, far greater than all who came afterwards. They are the people who are highlighted by the Holy Quran as the very special people who were purified by Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They were the very symbol of truth and purity and honesty. Under what state they were carved like this? Under what state power? None. But when the state power came to Islam, then what happened? Imagine those two dynasties of Abbasides and Umayyads, when they ruled the world in the name of Islam, but only as state monarchs. What happened to Islam? What happened to the peace of the world? What happened to the teachings of the Holy Quran? So, do you want me to beg of Allah to make me repeat all that horrors? Most certainly not. I have a different image of truth as it spreads. And that image is based invariably on the beginning of all religions. The beginning of all religions are the best period. And they are the periods in which invariably the sword is held by the enemies. The state power is possessed by the enemies and never by the prophets of Allah. And yet they bring about miracles in spiritual changes and moral changes and ideological changes and so on and so forth. So Islam is a religion of wisdom. Islam is a religion of truth. And wisdom and truth cannot be taught with the help of swords. If you try to implement Islam through coercion, what would be the purpose of that? What reward will those people get from Allah who are cursed by talwar, by sword, to start saying prayers 5 times a day? Do you not realize that Islam around 1400 years ago made it incumbent on every Muslim to say 5 times prayers 5 times a day at least, to pay zakat, to be truthful? Now they have not become that because of that teaching. So you require state power, meaning where Allah failed, we are going to succeed with the help of statecraft and power. And what sort of Muslims will you create under that state power? Will they prostrate to your authority or prostrate to the authority of God and Muhammad Rasulullah? The authority of God and Muhammad Rasulullah was available to them, was addressing them even before taking over by the mullahs of a state. They did not care of that authority. So they are bowing and prostrating to humans, not to God. Humans in power, under their threat. And what sort of people are produced under such threats? Shocking people. Don't you see what's happening in Afghanistan? Women are being treated as worse than slaves. And in a manner in which Hazrat Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never treated any woman. He was the prophet of women in the sense that he rehabilitated their honor like no man on earth had ever done it. No one could raise his voice against his own wives. And this is what Hazrat Umar complained once to Rasulullah. What you have done to our women, they are talking back to us. And never in the streets of Medina, a woman was insulted and beaten up because she was not wearing parda. Can you think of a single example? Did Rasulullah ﷺ not know what Islam was? So when the sword comes in the hands of the mullah craft, then it destroys Islam in a manner that it is no longer recognizable. How could I dream of such a thing? I am a Khalifa without a sword, and yet people in 152 countries or perhaps more are following my instructions while I have no state authority even in the place where I live. And they follow the instructions so beautifully, so wonderfully. It's amazing for the world to see. I say, do this, and they do that. Even husbands, when they are cruel to their women, when I tell them, do not repeat it, and they cease to repeat it, not because of sword, because of the fear of Allah only. That is only my instrument which I use. I remind them of fear of Allah, and they feel their responsibility to reform. Again, there are children who do not respond to the instructions of their parents. All over the world it is happening. When they watch me on television saying something which their parents had also said and they did not agree, when they hear me, they look at the parents, yes, yes, now we are going to do this. This is Islam. It does not require any state authority. It requires the authority of absolute conviction, unshakable belief in God, the Holy Quran, and the Holy Prophet of Islam. That is all the strength you need to implement Islam anywhere in the world, and this is exactly what Khilafat Ahmadiyya is doing it today and demonstrating it to the world. Thank you.
Hazur, next question is Mr. Nilson Tamazini from Brazil.
Yes, please.
I request him.
Most welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
You're from Brazil?
Yes, I'm from Brazil.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. My question is, you mentioned some Bible verse to explain about what happened to Jesus after his death.
Yes.
And so, why don't you believe in the following verse that say that Jesus was ascended to heaven, as in Luke, and Acts shows that he was ascended to heaven?
Because the Christian scholars have unanimously proved this verse to belong, not to belong to the Bible, to the New Testament, but they claim this has been added later on.
This is only one part, but there is Act 1 that shows clearly, and this.
What I mean to say is, wherever he is referred to have risen to heaven, the Christian scholars prove it to be wrong, have proved it to be wrong. I can give you the references, no problem.
Yes, please.
Note it down. No problem. They are called el-haqi. El-haqi means things which have been added on later. And in the consensus according to the consensus of Christian scholars, he was never reported seen ascending to heaven, according to the testified text. It was added later on. Moreover, I do not believe in that. I have a right not to believe in that, even if it was there, because I can't believe Jesus could have committed contradictions. How on earth could he say and promise that I would leave you and go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel? And having completely forgotten his promise, instead of going in search of the lost sheep of Israel, he should have arisen to heaven. This is a contradiction and paradoxical situation. You can't accept both together. Can you? How can you? Demonstrate to me. How can Jesus be taken to be true when he promised that he would leave the people there and go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel? And yet, having forgotten that promise, he ascended to heaven and did not go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. If you can't see the contradiction in it, I can. So even if I fail to prove, and I can prove, of course, what I have said, still I have a right to reject this part and accept the other one. Again, the question arises as to why he was seen moving away from the scene of crucifixion by the Christians themselves. Another contradiction. If he had risen to the heavens, why was he seen on earth? He was seen on earth by his own disciples, and it is all recorded in the New Testament. So contradictions cannot be related to holy people. If there is a contradiction, then one of the two statements has to be rejected. And that is exactly what I do. Thank you.
He has another
yes,
question.
please. Another question? Yes, please.
Well, it's practically the same. Close to this is
Yes, please do.
why the Muslims say that the Holy Bible used by Christians is corrupted. Like believe in some Bible verse but not in others, since the Quran gives authenticity to the Torah and the Injil and shows that these books are revelation that comes from Allah, like Surah 3:93.
Please sit down. You seem to have read some book by a Christian priest.
I am Christian.
Oh, yes, that is why. Now I understand. This is how they train the priests in that style. That it is contradictory of the Quran to first testify to the truth of the Old Testament and the New Testament and then prove them to have been interpolated. It is not so. In fact, what the Holy Quran claims is this, that the revelation revealed or vouched to the prophets of Israel was from God. It was divine revelation. But later on, people interpolated and changed the teachings. So the contradictions in the teachings which you see are not God-made, but man-made. So in the Holy Quran defends the truth of the Bible rather than offends. The Holy Quran does not disprove the truth of the Bible. What it claims is simply this, that most certainly God spoke to Moses and Jesus and all the other prophets before and after them. But humans changed and interpolated until the teachings were split into such factions and sections as became contradictory to each other. If you read the New Testament from this purpose, you will find many contradictions between one book and the other. But they are not God-made contradictions. They are human. So if you want a fuller list of such contradictions, which have now been also admitted by the Christian scholars themselves, then you will understand the meaning of the Quran, that it is a good divine book, yet it has been changed. But remember that the prophecies, until they are fulfilled, are not permitted to be changed. Because if they were permitted to be changed, then nobody would see the sign of truth of a prophet through prophecies. So that is why the prophecies about Jesus Christ were retained intact, and they were not permitted to be changed by the people of Israel by God. That is why he referred to those prophecies, and they were still there. But I'm talking of the other area of general teachings, which people change to their own advantages. And that is why you see so much of differences of what Bible meant, not only among the Christians, but also among the Jews. Why there are so many sects? They all quote the same Bible. It is not always the case of different interpretations. It is also a case of different references. Some quote one reference to their advantage, some quote the other reference to counter the effect of that reference, and so on and so forth. So there is no contradiction in the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran means this, what I am telling you, that the Holy Bible, Old and New, were originally, most certainly revealed by Allah. But the people of the later ages began to change them either by mistake or through ulterior motives. So that is what happens to all the teachings of the world, Bible being no exception. Thank you.
Hazur, he had
references here. This is what it says.
Now, about the mark, about mark. This is from?
This is from Mark, the last.
No, what's the book, the name of the book? NIV study, New International Version of the Bible.
Yes.
See?
Yeah.
It says that the most reliable early manuscripts and other ancient witnesses do not have Mark 16:9-20.
Yes.
See?
Could I just say, this is in my Bible as well. It's right, and you can see that we Christians recognize this. But I mean, you can see in Acts chapter 1, it says clearly that Jesus was sent to heaven, and this is accepted for all Christians.
No, this is not accepted by all Christians either. This is where we can have another discussion if you come to me later on. Okay? I can prove to you that it's not what is believed by all the Christians. And why not? What is wrong with that statement? I'll prove it to you. Right?
This verse is one exception.
What I'm saying is, this is not the time to go into a detailed debate on this issue, yes. But I invite you to meet me again, and if you want this discussion to be held on television, I'll invite you there. I don't want anything to be hidden from the rest of the world. Like this question-answer session will be televised, so we'll note it down, and also bring the reference. We'll invite you to a telephone, to a discussion in a smaller group, where such detailed discussions are possible. And I'll give you time to present your point of view, and I'll answer you from my point of view, inshallah, and I hope by the end of the discussion we will agree. Thank you.
Hazur, Mr. Nelson has a third question. He had written down actually 3 questions.
Okay.
Could he be allowed, please?
Okay. Most welcome.
This is the last one, I promise. Okay. In Surah 7, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon because I don't know the name of the surahs just by number. But Surah number 7, verse 157, say that there is prediction of Muhammad in the Torah and Injil.
That's right.
Where in the Injil is written about Muhammad?
So many places. Please sit down. No problem. Are you interested in Jesus Christ as well, or just the Jewish predictions?
Just about the Injil.
You see, you find written in the Bible of the prophecy of Muhammadin. And also you find written in Istisna, the Deuteronomy 18:22. 18:18. That God would raise from among the brothers of Moses a prophet of that magnitude and this and that. So we have definite references to the verses which contain the name Muhammad as well. And also we have definite references to the verses of the New Testament where the name Ahmad is mentioned by Jesus Christ. And although it is spelled Ahmad with T, but it is the custom of non-Arabic speaking people to change D to T. That is why Muhammad has been frequently changed into Muhammad. So the word Ahmad is mentioned in the testified and believed to be true script of the New Testament, and we'll show you there. I'm talking of the Egyptian, the Syrian manuscript, which is so far believed to be of the greatest reliability. So we have many evidences to that effect, and also in general the prophecy of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah is found in the parable of the vineyard. Parable of vineyard, I hope you know what I'm talking about. It is so clear, I fail to understand how the Christians miss this. Because it says when the son of the owner, the proprietor of the garden, came and was treated with the same hostility and was destroyed, was killed, then God came himself. All this shows that this event would take place after Jesus Christ had gone. Because he is the Son of God, according to you and according to all Christians. So when in the parable of vineyard it is said that the son was also appointed by the master, and the people treated him again with same cruelty as they had treated the earlier servants. So God decided, or the master decided, to come himself and to punish those who had rejected the authority. Now this refers to a claimant who would be entitled, whose coming would be entitled the coming of God. But metaphorically, like we believe the coming of the Son was meant. So it is only the Holy Quran, after Jesus Christ, which claims that the coming of the Prophet Muhammad was like the coming of God himself. 3 times in the Holy Quran it specifically refers to Prophet Muhammad's coming as the coming of God. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. You did not throw the handful of pebbles towards the enemy. You did not throw the handful of pebbles towards the enemy, but it was God who threw. When you were taking bay'ah, kana yadullahi fawqa aydihim. It was the hand of God which was over their hand. Despite all these references, we don't believe him to be a God at all. Nor we believe you have any right to call Jesus Christ a little son of God. So like the son was metaphorical, so also God to come was to come in his metaphorical advent, not personally. So references are so many, inshallah. When you meet me again, I'll produce more references to you. Thank you.
Hazur, next question is from Miss Nina Kapoor from Wimbledon. She is sitting here.
Yes.
And she
would like you to represent her.
To read the question. Where does Lord Krishna fit? Hazur, she asked, where does Lord Krishna fit into the theme and religion, particularly with respect to Islamic faith?
Right. Lord Krishna fits into the scenario of religious phenomenon as presented by the Holy Quran. According to the Holy Quran, there is nowhere on earth and no nation on the earth, at no time in the history of mankind when God did not send his representatives. And they were Bashiram wa Nazira. They were those who brought glad tidings to the people and also warned them against the consequences of their folly. This, according to the Holy Quran, is a universal phenomenon. Any religion which presents a narrower image of the world has to be wrong because it could not be from the Lord of the universes. In this picture, Krishna sits perfectly. But on this subject, I have covered this subject in a book which is about to be published. I hope by the next year it will be published. And if you leave your address, we will send you the book to you, in which a chapter deals with Krishna particularly and Hinduism in general. So, the Holy Quran, having made this claim, also makes another claim, that whenever God sent his messengers, human messengers, it was the distorted tendency of humans first to reject them, then to start raising their status from human to that of godly status. And this phenomenon is also witnessed throughout the world. We are discussing the case of Jesus Christ, for instance. We believe him to be a special prophet under the title of Messiah, but Son of God only metaphorically, not literally. But we have seen the discussion. There are many Christians who believe that he was a literal Son of God. So also is the case of many other prophets of God who were elevated from their human status to that of a godly status. We believe Krishna was no exception to this general rule. And we believe and respect him to be a genuine prophet of God of great status, who is also referred to in a tradition by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. He says, "Kana fil Hinde Nabiyun, ismuhu Asfadul Lawn, ismuhu Kahan." God had informed Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in India also there was a prophet, dark of complexion, whose name was Kahan. And you know that Krishna and Kahan are interchangeable in pronunciation. And also Krishna Kanhaiya is known to have a dark complexion. This is how it is depicted in his pictures as well. So we believe it is exactly Krishna to whom he refers. That is why in our Prophet's days, many times we invite Hindu scholars to speak on Lord Krishna, Lord in the sense of Lord Muhammad, Lord Jesus, not in the sense of God Lord. And we pay homage to his greatness as a great prophet of God. Thank you.
Hazur, next question is from Mr. Maudud Ansari of London.
Yes,
I
please.
request him to please come.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Maudud Ansari.
Ji.
Where about from London?
Clapham Junction.
Clapham, right.
My question is about
Would you come closer to the microphone?
My question is about the prohibition of Hajj performance in Saudi Arabia, because
for Ahmadis.
For Ahmadis,
That's
because
right.
they have declared them non-Muslims.
Do you think they have done it right?
Well,
No, tell me honestly.
I don't think so.
This is exactly, we agree with each other. So if they have done anything wrong, why should I justify their act?
So what you think about that?
I'll
What
tell
you
you.
have done?
This proves them wrong, because the Holy Quran has given no man an authority to prevent people from performing Hajj unless they are mushrikeen and they want to bring their customs of idolatry into the haram. only under that condition anyone has a right to prevent them, not otherwise. And how do they put it into the category of those idolaters? And those who do commit idolatry, they don't mind their performing Hajj at all. Look at the Brelvis in India, in Pakistan. Those who go to the Darbar of Data Sahib and prostrate to him and beg of the dead saints, like it happened in Christianity, unfortunately, as well. And they are permitted and welcome to come to perform Hajj in Saudi Arabia. So what is happening is not Islam, it is politics. Thank you.
Hazur, next question is from the ladies' side. There are many couples.
There were also questions from ladies' side before, weren't they not?
Yes.
Huh?
No, that she was here. She was sitting.
But she is a lady.
Yes, she is a lady. No, I said from the ladies' side. So.
Acha. There is enclosure, you mean?
That's right.
That's right. Yes.
There are many couples that only have daughters and others that only have sons.
Right.
Is it allowed within Islam for these couples to get the help of modern scientific methods, which represents the husband sperms with female and male sperms, thereby giving a 95% chance of having a child of the sex of their choosing?
I understood. But the question, without any right, draws a demarcating line between old methods and new methods. If it is established in the entire world of Islam to seek the help of physicians, of old school and new school, to have male babies born to them, then what is wrong with having assistance of the new methods? It is a progressive world. The issue which is to be decided in principle is this: should you try to get some help, medical help, for trying to assure that your baby will be born, a male will be born to you? This is permitted by all the Muslim ulama. This has been in the practice all over the world. So what is wrong about the modern methods? Nothing. It's a scientific, the scientific progress has made things easier for man today in certain areas, and to seek scientific help is not at all prohibited by Islam. What is prohibited is to violate the principles of the Quranic injunctions. So it is haram, definitely forbidden, to have a sperm of a different male to be inserted into the wife of another person, or to have a sperm of the husband and insert it into the into the uterus of a different lady, and through this surrogate mother they would transfer ultimately the same developed child to the womb of the mother, through the wife of the husband, or let the other woman bear the child for the husband. This is like going to a different girl, different woman, for performing the functions of husband and wife. It is like having a second wife. But if that wife does not become a wife legally, then the offspring would be illegal in the sense, will be illegitimate. So only where the definite injunctions of the Holy Quran are violated, it is not permitted to have recourse to such modern measures. But where within the four walls of Islamic injunctions you can benefit from new modern inventions, it is not forbidden and you are permitted to go ahead and do it as much as you please. I know two babies who were born twins. They are test tube babies here, and the mother sought my permission and I gave the permission to her, and there's many other Ahmadi mothers who do it, and it's so good to watch these babies who belong to both the husband and the wife. This is the point. Not to a third person. Thank you.
Hazur, next question is from Mr. Waleed Ochidi from
About
Kingston University.
Yes.
He says...
Where is he?
He's here, Hazur.
He would like you to... Acha. Right, okay. I understand.
I have been
The
brought up...
gentleman who wants to ask the question is an Arab,
Yes,
and he's listening to the Arabic translation of our question answer session. In the Arabic section. French translation. Not to the Arabic, but the French translation. Please.
Yes, sir. Hazur, he is a Tunisian Arab. His question is, I have been brought up to believe that the Imam Mehdi and Messiah are two separate individuals.
Right.
Also that Jesus Christ would return in body.
Right.
Can you please explain how Mirza Ghulam Ahmad claimed to both
To be both together.
to be both together,
That's
and
right.
also that in Isa.
Okay.
Thank you.
First of all, I will remind him of a hadith of Sahih Sitta of Ibn Majah, which has been accepted by the previous ulama without challenging its validity. And that hadith declares, Lal Mahdiyo illa Isa. There will be no Mahdi other than Isa, or no Isa other than Mahdi. So we have not welded the two persons together. It was exactly how it was predicted by Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can only understand the answer if you understand that they are titles and not persons which are being discussed. Al-Imam al-Mahdi is a title. Masih Isa ibn Maryam is a title. As such, the titles can can be applied simultaneously to a single person without any contradiction. And the proof of the truth of what I am saying lies in spread out throughout the Quran in so many verses and so many traditions of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. First of all, we prove from the Holy Quran that old Jesus Christ, who was delivered from the cross alive, so they failed to crucify him to death, survived that attempt of murder, and the Holy Quran says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. And they most certainly failed to murder him. But did he die or not? This is the question. Another verse declares, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was nothing but a prophet of Allah, a messenger of God, not more than that. However great he was, still he was a prophet of God. And all the prophets of God before him have passed away. وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ. This and many other verses speak of the certain death of Jesus Christ. The same style of expression is used about Jesus Christ himself, peace be upon him, when the Holy Quran says, وَمَا الْمَسِيحُ ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ. So it is repeated in case of Jesus Christ to reassure the Muslims that Jesus is not bodily alive. He was a prophet of Allah, so he met a normal natural death in the end. His end was through normal natural death. He was not raised bodily to heaven. So these are the reasons and many more why we believe that Jesus could not have descended from heaven where he never ascended to. If it is proved by the Holy Quran that he died and was buried in earth, then the Quran should have claimed that he will rise from the grave. But the Quran says he will descend from the heaven. The Quran does not say, a hadith says. The Quran does not mention his descent from heaven at all. But the hadith says, and it uses the word nuzul. Nuzul means something, an act of descent. But the question is, when the word nuzul is used about most things, do they always bodily descend from heaven? This is the question. We know in the Holy Quran that, we read in the Holy Quran that according to God, the metal iron descended from heaven. Did anybody see iron raining from the heaven? We dig it out from the earth. But more than that, stranger than that, we read in the Quran that the milk-giving animals, al-anam, were made to descend from heaven. Has anybody ever seen a rain of sheep and cattle and camels from the heaven? Why not? If the word nuzul means literally physical descent, then in these places the descent should be of physical carnal bodies. But more than that, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah is mentioned in the Quran as having descended from heaven under the word nuzul. The verse, Anzalallahu ilaykum zikra rasula. Qad anzalna hai or anzalat? I want to find out, please. Anzalallahu ilaykum or anzalna ilaykum, please. I'll quote the exact verse, but the word nuzul is used. That we made Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to descend. قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا رسولا يتلو عليكم آيات الله مبينات ليخرج الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات من الظلمات إلى النور. Now, I remind you that Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the only prophet. I repeat, the only prophet who is mentioned in the Quran under the word nuzul, that God made him descend. Jesus is not mentioned in the Quran under this tag, under this word. So strange is the position of the Muslim ulama. When they read in hadith that there was a nuzul of Jesus Christ, there would be a nuzul of Jesus Christ, they take it literally. But when it is mentioned of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, they do not take it literally. When it is mentioned that animals descend, they do not take that literally. When it is mentioned that iron descends, they do not take literally. And they never attempt to understand the underlying meaning and wisdom of these expressions. You see, there are so many metals created by God, but none has been more useful than iron for the progress of human civilization and other progress in other fields, in his economy, in his society, in settling the mutual issues of war and peace and so on and so forth. Throughout the history, the metal iron has played the most important and beneficial role for mankind. So it is the only metal mentioned in the Quran under the word anzala or nuzul, which means nuzul is a very special expression used for the most beneficial things out of a category of things. There are so many animals created by Allah, but none has been mentioned with the help of the word nuzul, except the cattle, the milk-giving animals, the animals of which we eat, of whose flesh we eat. Because an'am are the most beneficial animals of all the animals created by God for the sustenance of humans. So what a wonderful choice of the words the Quran makes. The word nuzul invariably means the very best of the species. So when you turn to the prophets, the word nuzul to be used in relation to Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is absolutely consistent with the whole usage. Because it is the Quran itself which claims that of all the prophets of Allah, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah is the best and the most beneficent. And he is the one who was sent as a source of blessing to all the mankind. So when the word nuzul is mentioned in the Holy Quran, these ulama, throw blind glances at them. They never attempt to understand the meaning. That is why they fail to recognize the meaning of the word nuzul in relation to Jesus Christ. Because he would appear in the Ummah to perform a great task of conveying the message of Islam to the world of Christianity, and also to invite them to his real image. What true Jesus was, a humble servant of God and not a little son of God. That is why this title was to be given to Al-Imam al-Mahdi. So they are not two different persons. They are two titles which can be combined in one single person. Thank you.
This is the last question. And this is from Mr. Khwaja Asif Mahmood of Wimbledon.
Yes.
And he is present in the hall, but he wants me to read it out.
Yes.
Every religion and religious sect claim to be true and with wisdom.
Correct.
How can you be sure that the belief that you hold represent the truth and wisdom?
Correct. The only instrument of finding out is wisdom itself, but not wisdom alone, honesty as well. According to the Holy Quran, although the book itself has no shadow of doubt about it, no element of doubt, yet it will guide only the true. It is not wisdom which is as essential to reach the truth, but it is the inner truth in man which is a prerequisite to guarantee that the person will be led to truth when it is presented to him. So, if you decide any issue with wisdom and truth together, then whatever the outcome, you're safe. There's nothing to worry about. God will not hold you punishable, even if you have mistaken, provided that you fulfill these two prerequisites of honest research. You are true within, you are attempting to decide an issue without prejudices. That is taqwa. And also do it with hikmah, with the best wisdom provided to you by God. Then whatever inferences you draw, they may be wrong from the vantage point of other men, but you must feel safe. because you will be judged from the vantage point of not other humans but by God Himself. So judge us from that angle with the same instruments, and whatever influences you draw, I assure you, they will not bear witness against you, even if you're wrong. But if the wrong conclusion is drawn because of a twisted inner attitude, then I cannot guarantee anything about it, because the Holy Quran does not. Was this the question? Right? Yes. Thank you.
That's all.